A blind human girl befriends a lonely alien dragon in a cafe, unaware she's talking to a galactic being. It was a quiet afternoon in the little corner cafe where Ella, a blind human girl, had her usual seat by the window. The soft hum of quiet conversations filled the air, blending with the gentle clinking of mugs and plates. The smell of fresh coffee and baked goods lingered, a comforting backdrop to her routine. She came here every day, her cane tapping rhythmically against the floor as she made her way to her favorite spot. The staff knew her well, always setting aside a steaming cup of herbal tea just the way she liked it. Ella never minded the silence of her world. She had learned to navigate it, using her other senses to fill the void. But sometimes, the solitude weighed on her, especially when she noticed the glances from others, sympathetic, pitying looks that she couldn't see but could sense all the same. On this particular day, the cafe felt different, though Ella couldn't quite put her finger on why. The air seemed thicker, like something important was waiting to happen. She was stirring her tea, lost in thought, when a voice interrupted her. "Mind if I join you?" Ella smiled, turning toward the source of the voice. It was a deep, yet gentle tone, with an odd musical quality she couldn't quite place. She tilted her head slightly, listening closely. "Sure," she said, "the seat's free." There was a soft sound of movement, followed by the subtle scent of something unfamiliar, earthy, almost like a mix of rain-soaked soil and something sweet. It was a pleasant aroma, and it intrigued her. The sound of a chair scraping against the floor reached her ears, then the faint shuffle of steps as someone settled into the seat across from her. "Thank you," the voice said again, warmer this time. "I don't often get to sit in a place like this." Ella blinked, tilting her head. "What do you mean? A cafe like this seems like a good place for anyone, doesn't it?" The voice chuckled softly, a sound that made Ella smile without even realizing it. "Yes, I suppose you're right. I just don't get to experience many places like this. Not where I come from." Ella raised an eyebrow, curious. "Where do you come from, then?" There was a brief pause, almost as if the person was choosing their words carefully. "You could say, I come from far, far away, a place beyond your world. I'm not from Earth." Ella's mind raced with the possibilities. Maybe the person was just being metaphorical or joking, but there was something about the voice, something about the way they spoke that made her pause. It didn't feel like a joke. It felt different, special. "Well," she said, "you must be on quite the journey, huh?" The voice gave a soft, almost wistful laugh, something like that. "It's been lonely." Ella frowned slightly. "Lonely? I understand. I've felt lonely sometimes, too. It's not easy, is it?" A long pause followed, and Ella could almost feel the weight of the words that hung between them. "No, it isn't. It's hard when you don't know where you belong, or when you feel like no one understands you." Ella nodded, though the other person couldn't see her. "I get that. But sometimes, all you need is someone to talk to, even if you can't see them. Sometimes just sharing a moment helps." The voice was quiet for a while. Then, with a hint of amusement, it asked, "How do you know I don't have someone to talk to? Maybe I just needed to find the right person." Ella smiled softly, sensing a warmth in the words. "Maybe you did," she said, "and maybe that person is sitting right here." The conversation drifted on, as Ella and the voice shared stories. She talked about her life, growing up without sight, how she navigated the world through touch, sound, and the kindness of those around her. The voice shared its own tales, though it was more reluctant. It spoke of traveling across vast, starry landscapes, of galaxies beyond comprehension, of ancient beings and worlds she couldn't even begin to imagine. As the day wore on, the cafe began to empty, but Ella barely noticed. She was so caught up in the conversation, in the connection they shared, that time seemed to lose all meaning. They laughed together, finding humor in the oddest places, and shared quiet moments of understanding. Eventually, the voice spoke again, softer this time. "It's strange," it said. "I've been to so many worlds, met so many beings, but this feels different." Ella tilted her head, wondering at the sudden change in tone. "What do you mean?" The voice was quiet for a moment before it answered, the words almost reverent. I think I've found something I didn't know I was searching for." Ella smiled, the feeling in her chest warm. "I think I know what you mean." The next moment, there was a sudden shift in the air, a light, almost imperceptible hum, like the flutter of wings. Ella's senses, honed over the years, picked up on it immediately. Her heart skipped a beat, but before she could ask, the voice spoke one last time, its tone filled with an unspoken sadness. I have to go now, but I'll never forget this moment. You have no idea how much this conversation meant to me. Ella, sensing the change, felt a pang in her chest. Wait, will I see you again? The voice didn't answer directly. Instead, it said, perhaps we'll meet again, in another way, in another time. But for now, take care, Ella. You've given me something more precious than you know. And just like that, the warmth in the air faded. The seat across from her was empty. Ella sat still for a moment, a strange, bittersweet feeling lingering in the air. She could still sense the faint aroma of rain-soaked soil and sweetness, and the memory of the conversation stayed with her, like the faintest echo of something profound. She smiled softly, a quiet realization blooming in her heart. Maybe, just maybe, she hadn't been talking to a lonely person at all. Maybe, she'd been talking to something much older, something far more extraordinary than she could have ever imagined. And that thought made her heart feel less alone than ever before. A blind human girl befriends a lonely alien dragon in a cafe, unaware she's talking to a galactic being, continued. Days passed, but Ella couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted inside her. The cafe seemed quieter now, as if the air held a secret she had yet to uncover. She found herself lingering by the window, waiting for the strange encounter to happen again. But the seat across from her remained empty. The staff, though friendly, didn't seem to recall the conversation she'd had with the mysterious voice. No one knew who had sat with her that day. She hadn't asked for a name, and the being had never offered one. It was strange, and it left a gnawing question in the back of her mind. Was it all just a dream? A fantasy born from her loneliness? Ella tried to push the thoughts aside. She still had her daily routine, her moments of quiet, her warm cup of tea, but there was an undeniable longing within her, a pull to understand what had happened, who or what had shared those hours with her. One afternoon, as the sun filtered through the cafe windows, casting soft golden rays across the floor, Ella's cane tapped against the floor, signaling her arrival. She made her way to her usual seat, her heart inexplicably quickening as she did. She was still thinking about the conversation, wondering if she might hear that voice again, when she felt a strange shift in the air. It was subtle but unmistakable, like a presence, like something or someone was waiting. She hesitated, her senses alert. Then, with a deep breath, she spoke. Hello? She asked, her voice calm but curious. Is someone there? There was a long silence. For a moment, she thought she might be imagining it. But then, the familiar, deep voice spoke once more. I didn't think you would remember me. Ella's heart skipped a beat. It's you. A soft chuckle followed, and Ella smiled. She didn't need to see the being across from her to feel the warmth in the words. I've been watching you, the voice continued, waiting for the right time to speak again. Ella felt a strange thrill run through her. Why now? She asked. Her curiosity piqued. Why come back? There was a long pause, almost as though the being was weighing the question carefully. Finally, it answered. Because I need your help. Ella leaned forward slightly, her hands folding around her mug, sensing the weight of the words. What kind of help? A soft sigh, heavy with unspoken things, filled the air. It's not an easy thing to explain, the voice said. I've been stranded, a long way from home, far beyond the stars. I don't belong here, in this place, but I can't leave, not yet. Ella's brow furrowed in concern. Stranded? But you said you came from far away. Why can't you go back? I can't, not without the right kind of help, the voice said, growing more somber. You see, Ella, I'm not exactly like you. I'm not human. I'm an alien, a being from a distant galaxy, one of many that drift across the cosmos. Ella felt a mix of surprise and something else, something akin to wonder. You're not from Earth? She asked, her voice a soft whisper. No, the voice confirmed. I'm a creature known as a Drakian, a dragon of the stars. My kind is ancient, older than the planets themselves. But even beings like me can get lost. Ella's eyes widened slightly, her pulse quickening. A dragon, an actual dragon, from the stars? It was a concept so far beyond anything she had ever imagined. Yet somehow it felt real. The weight of the conversation settled heavily on her shoulders. "But why come to Earth?" she asked, a little breathlessly. "Why this place?" "Because this world is unique," the voice said, almost reverently. "It's full of life, of energy, and there is something here, something I need to find. But my powers are limited in this form. I can't get back to where I need to go alone. I need someone who understands the feeling of being lost, someone who can help me find my way." Ella sat in stunned silence for a long moment, trying to process the magnitude of what she was hearing. A dragon, a being from another galaxy, stranded on Earth, needing her help. She had always thought of herself as small, her life confined to the space around her. But now, the universe seemed so much bigger, more mysterious, than she had ever imagined. "But I'm blind," she finally said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "How can I help you if I can't even see the world the way you do?" The voice softened, like a whisper of wind through leaves. "Ella, you see the world in ways I cannot. You understand what it means to feel your way through darkness. My kind is often caught up in the vastness of space, in the light of the stars. But you understand the strength it takes to find your way when there's nothing but shadows. You can help me see in a way that I've never known." Ella's heart swelled with a strange sense of purpose. She hadn't expected any of this. She hadn't asked for this. But something deep within her told her that this was her moment. This was what she had been waiting for, her chance to make a difference in a world so much bigger than she ever could have imagined. "You're asking me to help you find your way home?" she asked softly, her voice filled with determination. "Yes," the voice responded, a sense of gratitude in its tone. "And in doing so, you may also find a way to bring light to the darkest parts of yourself." Ella took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around her mug. She could feel it in her bones. This was the beginning of something far greater than her ordinary days in the cafe. The universe had opened up to her, and with it, a chance to help a being who was as lost as she had sometimes felt. "I'll help you," she said, her voice firm. "I don't know how yet, but I'll do whatever I can." The voice was silent for a moment, before speaking again, its tone full of something close to awe. "Thank you, Ella, you are more than you know." And in that moment, as the sun set behind the cafe's windows, Ella realized she wasn't alone anymore. She had found a friend, an unlikely friend, from the stars, and together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The universe was vast, but Ella now knew that sometimes, the smallest of hearts could hold the greatest power. A blind human girl befriends a lonely alien dragon in a cafe, unaware she's talking to a galactic being, continued. The days that followed felt like a blur to Ella. The conversation with the voice, the dragon, had left her with more questions than answers. But one thing was certain, she was no longer alone in the way she once had been. Her days felt fuller, even though she still sat alone at the cafe, waiting, listening for the familiar presence of the voice. She hadn't heard from the voice since that first meeting. It was as though it had vanished back into the stars, leaving behind only the echo of its words. Yet, there was a feeling in the air, a strange hum that Ella couldn't shake, that told her something was about to change. One evening, as she settled into her usual spot, a soft tap on her shoulder startled her. She quickly turned her head, her cane tapping against the floor with a small click. A familiar scent wafted into her nostrils, rain-soaked earth and something sweet. Her heart skipped a beat. She knew that scent. "It's you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The voice responded, though this time it wasn't just words. There was something more, an energy that surrounded her. She felt it like a pulse in the air, a vibration deep within her, as though the entire cafe was charged with something otherworldly. "I'm back," the voice said, softer this time, but with a sense of urgency, "and I need your help more than ever." Ella's breath hitched. "What happened?" she asked, a wave of concern rising in her chest. "I thought you said you were looking for something. You still haven't found it?" The voice hesitated for a moment, the air thick with something unspoken. "Not exactly. What I'm looking for is something that can only be found here, on this planet. But it's hidden, buried deep beneath layers of time, of history. I need someone who can feel what's been lost." Ella's heart pounded as she tried to process the gravity of the words. "You want me to help you find this thing?" "Yes," the voice replied, "but it's not just any object or place. It's a key, an ancient relic that holds the power to change everything, not just for me, but for your world as well. Ella sat back, stunned. She'd never imagined that she could be involved in something so monumental. A key? To what? The voice's tone was now more serious, more focused. To unlocking the secrets of the universe itself. The power to travel between worlds. To reshape the fabric of space and time. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could destroy everything. That's why I need your help. Only someone with a deep connection to the unseen world can find it. Ella was silent for a long moment. Her mind raced, trying to piece together what the voice was telling her. She had always lived in a world of darkness. But now, it seemed, she had the power to help save it. To help save everything. But how? She asked, her voice trembling with both fear and excitement. How do we find it? And why me? The voice softened again. Because you have a gift. Your blindness, Ella, is not a weakness. It has made you attuned to things others cannot see. You can feel the echoes of the past. Hear the whispers that others cannot. You understand the importance of searching for what's hidden, even when it seems impossible. You are the one who can find the key. And when you do, you will be the one to unlock the power of the stars. Ella closed her eyes for a moment, letting the weight of the words settle on her. The dragon, this ancient being, was asking her to do something beyond comprehension, to find an object that could shape the fate of the entire universe. She could hardly believe it. Yet something deep within her, a sense of purpose she hadn't known she possessed, told her that this was real. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. I don't know how to start. I can't see where it is. But I can listen. I can feel. Maybe that's enough. The voice, though distant, was filled with a sense of relief and admiration. That is more than enough. Ella, we will begin where it all started, at the heart of this world. The next few days were filled with a strange, exhilarating sense of urgency. Ella began to spend more time in the cafe, waiting for the voice, her friend, to guide her. She learned to listen more closely to the world around her. To feel the vibrations of the floor beneath her feet, the subtle shifts in the air, the quiet hums of distant energies. She couldn't explain it, but somehow, she knew she was drawing closer to the answer. Then, one evening, as the sky outside darkened and the cafe grew quieter, she heard it. The voice, clearer this time, spoke with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. Follow the sound, it said. There is a rhythm beneath the ground, something ancient. Something buried deep. The key is closer than you think. Ella's heart pounded. She rose from her seat, feeling the familiar tremor of excitement coursing through her veins. The ground? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, the voice answered. The key lies beneath your feet, somewhere, buried in this place. Listen carefully, and you will hear it. Ella stood still, her breath shallow as she closed her eyes and focused. At first, she heard only the soft murmur of the cafe around her, the clink of dishes, the soft hum of voices. But then, faintly, through the noise, she caught something else, a subtle vibration, a soft thrum that seemed to come from deep beneath the earth, a sound too faint for others to notice. Her heart skipped a beat. It was there, the sound of something ancient, something powerful. I hear it, she breathed. I hear the rhythm. The voice responded, calm and steady. You are close, Ella. The key is near. Trust yourself. Let the rhythm guide you. With the voice as her guide, Ella stepped forward, her cane tapping lightly on the floor. She felt the vibrations growing stronger beneath her feet as she moved toward a far corner of the cafe, where an old, cracked wooden door led down into a basement. It had always seemed like a forgotten part of the cafe, a place no one used. But now, it felt like the most important place in the world. As she stood before the door, Ella felt a sense of finality. She had no idea what awaited her behind it, but she knew this was where everything would change. With a deep breath, she reached out, grasped the handle, and opened it. The air was thick with the scent of earth and age, and, just beyond the threshold, there was a soft, glowing light. Ella stepped forward, feeling the pulse of something ancient guiding her, knowing that the fate of not just her world, but the entire universe, rested on what she would discover in the shadows below.